All right. And then Kit Kat and Jordan, if you see Nick or Alexis in the back, go ahead and let them in. Great. Leigha and Christy, good?
Is it Nik Aji?
Yes.
He's here.
Okay, awesome. All right. Gonna get started. 1 second. Okay. Cool. So we're just waiting on Alexis, but we can go ahead and let everybody in. Hey, Nick.
Hey.
Nick, can you hear us? Oh, I think I heard something. Nick, can you hear us?
You guys. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. I can hear you now. Okay, cool. All right. Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday. All right. We got a lot of people coming in the room right now. Hello, hello. Happy Saturday, everybody. Ooh, I see some new faces. I see some old faces, familiar faces. Hey, Erica. Mom on the beats. Good to see you. Hello. Oh, you're on mute.
Good morning. Today's my birthday, and this is what I wanted to do for my birthday.
Happy
Tune in with you.
birthday.
Thank
we
you.
missed you. I don't think we've seen you for, at least not, I haven't spoken to you for a while.
Yeah.
It's good to see you. Happy birthday. Everybody in the chat, say happy birthday to Miss Mom on the Beats.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're
Happy
so
birthday.
happy.
Thank you.
Hey, Keenan. How you doing?
What's up? What's up? I'm doing good.
How are
How's
you?
everybody?
Good. Keenan, where are you from again?
I'm from Nebraska.
And you've been on our calls a couple times now, right?
Well, I was on the live the other day.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Keenan, we're so happy to have you.
Thank you.
Cool.
Happy to be here.
Awesome. Wow, we got a big group already. We've got 53 people in here. Shane, hello. What's good? Introduce yourself really quickly. Oh, Shane, you're on mute.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hey, I'm Shane. I go by Shane Morgan Raps. I'm an independent artist. I produce, I engineer, and I shoot my own videos.
Hey, Shane is located in New York City. How many people, raise your hands if you're in New York. I know we have a lot of New York folks that are here. Nice. Hey, everybody. Hey, Joey. Joey, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm so happy to be here. I just finished a 4-month-long mix process and I'm going cuckoo.
Well, congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I know you were talking about it the last time we spoke, so that's really exciting. Cool. We're happy to have you back. Who else is in here? Juan Carlos. Hello. How you doing?
Hello.
Oh, Juan, you are muted.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Hey, what's up?
How are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? What do you do?
I'm from Mexico, Veracruz, Mexico. And I'm a music producer and beat maker from pop music. So
nice. How'd you find out about the event? Have you been to our events before?
No.
Oh, welcome in. Cool. We're really excited to have you. Welcome to the Finesse fam.
Appreciate it.
Cool. I'm Alexi, by the way. I'm the founder and CEO of Finesse Media, and we have got some really cool folks in the building that will be speaking with us today. We'll get started in just a few minutes. We're just waiting for a couple more folks to come in. Alexis, hello.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I was having technical issues. I'm out of town, so visiting family. So yeah, we was having issues, but I'm here. How's everybody?
We're good. We've missed you. We're so used to seeing you so often that it's like we don't see you for a couple of weeks. Where is she? Cool. Well, hello everybody. I see a ton of new faces in here. Tell us where you're from in the chat. I see Loretta is from Germany. Hello to all of our Finesse fam, the folks that have been coming every single weekend. Let's see. Kemari says from New York, Colombia. North Carolina, Philly, Virginia, Houston, Texas. Wow, that's awesome. Cool. Feel free to introduce yourselves after we go through and see where everybody's from. Puerto Rico, let's go. This is awesome. We got folks from all over the world. Cool. I am out in Philly. I'm back and forth from Philly to New York City, but I'm originally from the Bay Area. Anyone from the Bay? No. Oh, Nick. Hey! Okay, cool. Awesome. I think we are good to go ahead and get started. We've got 66 people in the building. Today we've got a really dope panel prepared for you. We have specifically made this for producers and engineers. Majority of our community is typically artists and aspiring music industry professionals, but every few months we like to do one for producers and engineers. So this one is specifically for all of you. I hope you enjoy it. I am Alexis, again, the founder and CEO of Finesse Media. Hey, I see Andrew Scott in the building from the Bay. Woo, woo. Cool. All right, everyone, I'm gonna pass things over to Christy and Bea, who are our lovely hosts. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're really, really excited to have you. And I can't wait for you all to meet our amazing speakers today. So Christy and Bea, it's all you.
Hey everyone, I'm Christy, and like Alexis said, I'm going to be your host as well as Bea. We'll be talking about music production and engineering. With such a saturated music market nowadays, we want to center our discussion on process, accessibility, and resources. We'll be talking about how to refine your skill and how to create a brand for your artistry, as well as like other to kick off our discussion. Hey guys, let's get started on our interview. I'm not sure if you guys can see the rest of the panelists actually. Oh, there we go. Are we getting settled?
Yes, we should be good.
All right, cool.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, that was crazy. What the hell was that?
Yes, sorry everybody. This happens every once in a while. That's why it's really important for us to keep our Zoom links private. So if anyone has shared it, please take it down. But yeah, we can go ahead and get started. And for those of you that are in the chat, feel free to interact with us on Instagram or YouTube. We are live streaming, so we should be good to go there. We'll make sure to respond to you as needed. But go ahead, Christy and Bea, take it away.
Yes. Okay, so let's get started. I want to know how you guys began your journey of production and or engineering. We can just go around and get started. Ben, would you like to get started?
Yeah, sure. I'll kick it off. So I've been engineering and producing for almost 10 years now, but professionally for about 7. I started off very young. I started off engineering when I was in middle school, actually. And then I recorded friends in classrooms, and I built a studio in my mom's basement at one point. And then when I went to Temple and I actually studied business. So I was kind of going down the path of like wanting to work on Wall Street and whatnot. But at the same time, I started interning at different studios around Philly. And so I did my first internship in 2016, I think, at this studio in Philly. And then from there, the guy who owned the studio, his name's Anthony Bell. He's one of my mentors. He connected me to Jazmine Sullivan. So I ended up engineering for her for a couple years. From there, I went and I assisted another amazing engineer named Cruz, who's been engineering for Meek Mill for almost 10 years. And then for the past 2 years, I've been engineering for Lil Uzi. So that's kind of what my day job is now. But I don't know, I just started working with friends in high school, really.
Awesome.
Dope.
Amil, you want to go ahead and talk?
Yeah, sure. My kind of production engineering experience kind of started similar to Ben. I was in like around middle school, like early high school. I had gotten into, like a lot of, I was always listening to a lot of different types of music, but particularly like around that time, I was listening to a lot of like metalcore, post-hardcore, like bands like Dance Gavin Dance and stuff like that. So I wanted to be in my own band, like play guitar in a band. So, but I didn't have money to like go to a real recording studio. So I figured, all right, like, let me just learn how to like record my own stuff. And then from there, I just kind of just started recording a lot of my own friends and whatnot. So Yeah, I had a Rock Band mic, and then I got my first DAW. It was something called Magic's Music Maker, and then from there, I just kind of was just doing it from there, like, you know, just trying to learn different things, trying to figure out how to copy the sounds of records that I liked a lot, and then trying to figure out like how I could do that for myself. So, yeah.
I started with the Rock Band mic too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over reliable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Nick, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. I started my engineering. I just kind of engineering my own music back in 2014. Just kind of like really recording myself on Logic and slowly learning how like DAWs operate. It all kind of came from just being curious and wanting to make my own music sound good. And I eventually joined NYU's music tech program. I got myself into Blast Off Studios, right off of 52nd and Broadway in New York. And that's where I really got my foot in the door. I learned studio etiquette, how to operate in a session, and how to carry yourself as an engineer. You know, I do believe, especially as recording engineers, our jobs are 70% vibe and like 30% technical skill. And yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Alexis?
Hey, so I started my journey very later on. I've always loved doing music, but you know, life was lifing. And I was working, it's just crazy. I started off working in finance, and I was just like, I hate this job. I was on the train, I seen an ad for SAE on the train. I was like, I'm just gonna quit my job and go to school, because at the time I was like, I love Timberland. So I'm like, you know, let me just go ahead and follow in his footsteps. And went there, I didn't know anything, nothing as far as anything technical. So literally like I'm making a beat in class and the professor's like, okay, mix it. I'm like, what's that? What's reverb? What's all that? I didn't know anything. And around this time, you know, I'm a mom, you know, I basically have responsibilities. So when I quit, I didn't have any backup plans. So I was working in nightlife. So I was going to school for engineering, working in nightlife, and literally by working in nightlife, networking, music and nightlife literally go hand in hand. I don't know if anybody knows who Breon Robinson is. She works on the business side, but basically I met her and she was working with Atlantic Records, and she had connections with Blast Off, which is also how I know Nick. And I started interning there in 2018. And that's honestly how I started. When I graduated SAE, still didn't know engineering. So I very much learned once I started interning. So yeah.
Awesome.
Alexis, when did you go to SAE?
I went to SAE in 2016, and I took once I graduated, I'm like, yeah, this is not for me. I was like, I'm just going back to nightlife, get this money. And I was just like, cause I was gonna go to Quad at the time. And then long story short, I ended up like meeting Breon is literally what brought me back to like trying to do engineering. So
that's cool. That's cool though. I went to SAE from 2017 to 2019. So
yeah, I don't learn anything, you know, I don't recommend anyone to do it. So, but yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for talking about your journey. Everyone kind of started very early. So now that we've talked about our journey, let's go into more about your learning process. So like more into the technical side. For example, like how did you choose the DAW that you work with and how has it impacted your work?
So I make beats in Ableton. I first started using Logic, but if you want to engineer at even a semi-professional level, I mean, Pro Tools is a high level of Pro Tools proficiency is required. There's really no way around that. I know there's other amazing DAWs. I mean, people make great records in Logic, people make great records in Ableton, but because of the way that Pro Tools before version 11 was made, all the infrastructure in the large studios all around the world is built off of Pro Tools because you have to have hardware made by that company. So, I mean, I'm very biased, but I think that Pro Tools is the best for recording and mixing. I think the features, the shortcuts, the way it handles large session files, the way it handles different sample rates and stuff, just a high level Pro Tools proficiency is required. And honestly, most people aren't going to teach you. You know, there's so many amazing resources online. I know at every studio I've worked at, for me, it's always been about, if somebody comes to me with a specific question, I'll answer it. But if you're coming to me asking me the basics, it's on you to take that initiative to learn it yourself.
Absolutely. Off of what Ben said, I also make beats in Ableton, but I fully agreed on what he said. Like, Pro Tools is kind of the go-to in a professional recording setting. I use that to record and mix. My first DAW was something called Magic's Music Maker, and then my second DAW after that was something called Reaper. It's a free DAW, but when I kind of decided that I wanted to do it music professionally and be an engineer, a producer, I realized, all right, like Reaper is not really kind of gonna cut it if I want to work with some of the best artists in the game. So Pro Tools is definitely the one to go with if you want to record. But I've used Logic too to make beats. I mess with FL a little bit, but I don't know. I like for beats, I like using Ableton a lot more. So
Yeah, I'd have to second that. I think Pro Tools is definitely the best DAW. Just the way it was kind of programmed, kind of like beats out all the other competition for DAWs for the way it processes audio. I do think that if you're just kind of mixing, it's kind of whatever works. Like at the end of the day, you're just trying to make things sound good. So whatever DAW that you want to choose to make that happen, don't let nobody tell you different. But I mean, if you're gonna be a part of a studio and be tracking, you definitely gotta get your grips on Pro Tools, learn your stuff, and for me it was just like staring at the shit for hours, not knowing what's going on or what all the tools mean until eventually you kind of get your foot in the door, and learn how to kind of, because everybody operates in Pro Tools differently, right? And just kind of figuring out your own process. But yeah, it's a lot of trying and failing for sure.
Yeah, I agree with all of them. So I produce in Ableton, but I do everything else in Pro Tools. And just to piggyback off of everything that they said, what Ben said, especially with people like wanting to learn, people ask me all the time, and I'm like, you just have to try it. Like, take an artist, do a mock session, like just mess up, learn the shortcut keys. Pro Tools is industry standard. And a lot of the consoles, if you go to like different consoles, you'll realize that Pro Tools is basically based off of those consoles. So it's just like the technical version of what an SSL board is, stuff like that. So you just have to, it's one of those, you need to know how to use it. That's just how I feel.
Right. I totally agree. So yeah, with talking about our DAWs, let's also continue our technical discussion. So walk me through your process of producing a song. So like, do you stick by a certain routine or a method? Is there like a certain order that you need to make your music in?
Just to ask a clarifying question to that, are we talking about like making a beat by yourself, or are you talking about more so like collaborating with a songwriter and artist?
You can answer both questions. Whatever you think the question means to you.
I guess I'll go first again. But when I make beats, I try to always start with a melody, and then I go add drums after, whether I'm making the melody or whether I'm collaborating with somebody. I don't know. To me, that just makes the most sense structure wise. But I know people work either way. It's really whatever works for you. There's really no formula. When it comes to like collaborating with artists or songwriters, a lot of times, so as I said before, like what I've pretty much been doing for the past few years is I pretty much only work with Lil Uzi, right? We work 7 days a week from 11 to 11. So it's like 80 hours a week, I'd say, if not a little bit more. And so in that situation, normally what happens is somebody, we have thousands of beats. And so I'll just play through them and he'll decide which one he likes and we load it up and he just goes in, he doesn't write anything. And I think a lot of artists work like that nowadays. And so that's why it's just all about having like a really efficient system that works for you. So you have to have like a rock solid template that has all the tools that you might need ready to go, so that when you load that beat up, the artist can just go right in and there's really no downtime, because when you're working at a high level, nobody's waiting on you, right? Like your job is to keep the session moving. And if they feel like they're waiting on you, like they'll kick you out and look at somebody else. So.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Me personally, like it depends on my mood. So there's times where I like to like cook up from scratch, like, and just like, start the melody and then do the drums. And then there's other times where, I might just use loops that somebody sends to me from my email and just cook it up from there. Like, people that I work with closely, like my friends or whatever. Particularly for mixing, how I like to work is I like to do mix prep first and like make sure all the edits are where they need to be and the routing is where it needs to be. and then at some other time I'll come back and then touch it with fresh ears. And kind of also what Ben said, you definitely, like when you're in a recording setting, when you're mainly recording, you definitely have to have a template that's just ready to go. And you kind of need to be also calibrated yourself to just know how to just get things going as fast as possible. Like being able to get the tempo locked in as quick as possible, getting the tuning of the beat and the auto tune key locked in as fast as possible. So the template is important also, but also you as the engineer being calibrated enough to just know how to get things moving as fast as possible. So
yeah, I'm not really much of a producer. I do hear orchestrations in my head sometimes that I wish I had like a whole band that I could just direct and make them do what I want them to do. But I'd say for more of mixing, melody, drums, low end, and vocals, in that order. If I'm working with a 2-track, I kind of have less room, but you know, with working with incredible production from Sledgen, Batman, these super producers have already kind of carved out frequencies for the vocals to sit, and they've kind of already laid out the groundwork for me to go in there and do my thing. So yeah.
I'll say for me, something that, well, I've been doing for the past like 2 years with the artists that I developed. We'll, you know, collaborate with different producers. Like we did one with one of Giveon's producers, and basically we had a Zoom setup and then they're playing, and all I'm really doing is just like, I like that, hold on, do the bass this way, like, hold on, I like this melody, or like we'll hum things, like me and my artist Nezzy, and sometimes the producer will send stuff and like I'll make them send the stems, and I'm like, okay, I'll maybe arrange certain things. Like for her last song, I'm like, okay, the way the guitar was not how it was originally sent. So like obviously with the producers, you know, of obviously them allowing me to do it because I'm respecting everyone's art. But like I'll move things around based on like the song, because a lot of times like I feel like with production, it's a lot of times with, okay, what is the song? What's being talked about? Like what's the vibe? Because like certain songs, the guitar is the highlight. Certain songs, you know, the drums, the bass, you know, is the highlight, or sometimes it's just the vocal. So it just depends on what the song is, what the vibe is, what's the artist trying to actually, you know, get across. And I approach that same type of vibe when I'm mixing. Like before I mix anything, I start mixing other songs to kind of just get in a good vibe. And then I look and see like, okay, what does this song make me feel? What does the artist want? What, or the label, what they want, but what is this making me feel? What I think a consumer is gonna want. And I think that's all kind of production. And then I start mixing from there. So like everyone's kind of happy, but I'm also happy with what I'm bringing to the table as a mixing engineer. So it's kind of, I guess, a bit of everything.
Right. We kind of got it started on the next question because we're speaking about vibes now, but do you guys have a certain style of production or engineering? Is there like something that's very unique to your brand that you think that sells yourself?
I think, you can go ahead.
No, you can go ahead, it's fine.
So for me, I don't know about everybody else, but like when I started engineering, I feel like, you know how like with basketball players, like LeBron, with Kobe, like I feel like engineers has that like, damn, I want to sound just as good as this person. So when I first started engineering, I was like Jason Joshua. I got to have my low end like Jason Joshua. Like I got to have that type of like lush vocals. And then it started getting into like Serban and just how clean he gets his vocals. So like at least I hope, people tell me this now, that might not be the case, but because obviously there's people who have been doing it way longer than me, but I feel like my style is more like really clean vocals, you know, a good amount of reverb, but like that low end. And I feel like every song is capable of having that low end, even if the vocals is the main, you know, part, like R&B and pop, but just having a mixing style with like clean vocals, but having that low end, having the perfect balance.
Oh yeah, for me, I'm not sure if I have a particular style. Like, you know, I would probably ask somebody who's maybe heard some of my work or has worked with me to let me know, like, yo, like kind of what my sound consists of, whether it comes to mixes or producing. But in terms of the like mixes, I would definitely say I like my drums to hit for sure, like drums that definitely knock. And that's across any genre, whether it's like R&B, like hip hop, you know, metal or anything like that. I like, you know, like Alexis said, I love just like crispy and clear melodic sounding vocals with tasteful amounts of auto-tune. So kind of my first couple years kind of engineering professionally, I was working with like a lot of artists like Lil TJ, J Guapo, you know, like kind of that new New York type of sound, you know. So I think that kind of auto-tuney sound, melodic hip hop sound is kind of what, you know, people kind of like my work for when I record them. So there's that. I also like creative and tasteful use of delay and reverb. So like, you know, like if I use a delay, I might put like another time-based effect on it, like a chorus or a phaser. I kind of like stuff like that. I like using doublers and just, you know, stacking vocals and stuff like that. So any vocal that sounds big and like crispy and clear, almost like a pop vocal almost, but like, you know, even if you take it out of that setting, like in an R&B mix or in a rock mix or something like that, like I'm very big on stuff like that. So, and for like production stuff, I like stuff like, you know, kind of like Playboy Cardi, like Pierre Bourne, very energetic, you know, electronic type of sounds, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, I like R&B and melodic hip hop as well. I think it's definitely my forte. I never have a template when mixing. I always start from scratch, because I find like as I'm going through the process of working with sounds, I like if I kind of make something happen that I didn't think about when I don't have a template. I'm very creative with my delays for sure. I think that's probably like my standout, and what people kind of know me for is like really, really aggressive delays and reverbs and throws that are in your face, completely unconventional as well. I do like getting a basic mix where I think the sonics and the levels and the compression and the EQ are at a stable place for, you know, for I guess consumers to hear it. But then I like fucking doing crazy shit and just fucking it all up, you know. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Yeah, so I guess a little bit of unconventionalism would be my forte.
For sure.
I mean, the same things everybody else has said: clear vocals, drums, delayed throats and stuff. I think I'll just approach it from a different angle. Like when I'm recording, I think my signature or whatever is, it's all about speed and efficiency. For me, I'd like to think of myself as a very high level Pro Tools operator. So it's about speed and efficiency. So getting good takes, getting them clean, getting them edited really well. I think that's something I'm a big stickler for, is just like very good editing, whether that's like breaths being turned down, no, you know, crossfades being correct, no skips or clips or anything like that. I use Isotope RX a lot to get just different clicks and pops and mouth sounds out, you know, vocal line to make sure everything's tight and stuff like that. And just, you know, having really organized sessions and whatnot. And then, you know, and then the same thing, the delay throws, the reverb throws, you know, clean vocals, all that. I think it's kind of pretty standard. So I think it's about those little things. So like for me, it's all about editing and efficiency.
Yeah, so it sounds like you guys all have your own kind of unique creative styles and processes, and I know that everyone kind of has their own different preferences that make them unique. So I'd be curious to hear what are some best practices when you guys are producing or engineering for another artist, when you're trying to manage all of these different ideas, different egos, while still trying to maintain this comfortable environment and creating that trust.
So off of what Ben said, step one is definitely be fast. So, you know, I think once you get that down, and in being fast, I think, you know, not being afraid to be yourself or ask questions and make the process collaborative, but also in a way that's like just in service to the artist too. So, you know, like if I'm in with somebody new that I maybe haven't worked with yet, like I might ask just to hear some music, or ask, you know, how they're feeling, or like, you know, what their vibe is for that day. So I kind of know, like, you know, what we're going to just be doing for that day, you know, like whether if they need beats from me or any beats that I have maybe on deck from people that I work with, you know what I mean? Just so I can kind of just get a feel for like what they're about, you know what I'm saying? Because I try to make it like music making is just, it's very personal already. And I feel like being somebody's engineer is, even if that artist isn't your best friend, it's just like, it's still a very vulnerable position to be in, because it's like, you know, they're getting some of their thoughts off to you, sometimes their deepest thoughts off to you. So it's like you got to be able to be that person who's, you know, able to create their vision. So I think the best way to do that is just to, you know, talk to them, you know, get a feel for what they're about, what they're trying to do, you know, I mean, like what they want out of it, just so you can kind of help them realize their vision.
Yeah, for sure. Alexis, I saw you were starting to add something.
Yeah, because for me, I feel like the way I approach it, for one, always like, of course, be fast. And when I mean fast, like you got to be thinking, like you got to kind of read the artist's mind, know what they want before they even ask you. Like that's one thing I get a lot when I record artists, be like, oh damn, like you already did it, or you already got you already have everything already aligned about what I'm about to do. So that's important. But I feel like the biggest thing that engineers are, we are the vibe curators. So we control the room. So it's like when I'm about to do a session, whether I know the artist or I don't know, it's not about me. How are you feeling? What do you, I'm only here to help you get this song, this emotion, provoke this emotion out of you. So if you're not comfortable with me, like, you know, I let them do whatever. Like sometimes I have artists, they might want something super loud, like just whatever they want, lights. I don't really care what the hell they want. Whatever's gonna make you super comfortable. So you're gonna give me the best, you know, like music out of you, you know. And then I started off working with labels. So, I mean, I don't know how everyone else's upbringing was, but with mine, it's like, you don't talk. If the artist wants to say something, that's when if they ask you, then you give your insight. But like, I was taught to like not give feedback, you know, especially with like big artists. And then what I found with working with big artists is once they trust you and trust what you bring to the table, they'll ask you, they want you a part of the process. But what I do aside from working with labels is like working with like the artists that I develop, and it's just us kind of just coming together. But once again, just being what the artist wants, being quick, you know, and just making sure that like, even if you don't like the song, oh well, like you're gonna love that song today. Like, it's just like, you have to be all about what's ever happening right then and there in the studio.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you referred to it as being the vibe curator. I love that. Nik, do you have anything to add about some best practices?
For sure, just to piggyback off of that, I think speaking less and just kind of being a sponge in the studio and allowing the artists to kind of do their thing. Also, like, try not to get your own opinions in the way of things, because at the end of the day, the artist has to live with the product. They're the ones that have to go on tour and perform the song. So if they want something crazy done, or if they want, you know, if they want it to sound not the way that you want it to sound, you're a professional recording engineer. You know, you're you know, act like it. You know, for whatever we're gonna do. And I think obviously being fast with Pro Tools and stuff, and the new thing is punching in. You know, punching in really quickly, I think a great tip was always be in record enable mode. Like, there's been so many times where an artist has like said an ad-lib or said something, and then like I captured it and they didn't even know I captured it, and I put it somewhere and they're like, oh shit, that's fucking crazy. I think always being in record enable is probably like the best tip that I can give a young upcoming engineer.
Yeah, Ben, do you have anything to add to that?
I think everything's kind of been covered. I mean, just some other, like, I guess, more tangible things that I think everybody really kind of covered the mindset and stuff, but like some tangible things. I mean, like, invest in solid state hard drives. They're way faster and they're more reliable. Make sure that whether you're using your computer or you're using a studio computer, like, it's up to specs and it's exactly how you want it. Don't be afraid to, like, even if you're bouncing from studio to studio, don't be afraid to change the settings. I change the settings every computer I go back to. I mean, I'll try to take a picture on my phone so I can see where I left it. But, you know, I think something big for me is I like to bring my own tools wherever I work. So I bring my own keyboard, my own mouse. I usually try my hardest to work off my laptop, even if, you know, the studio has a great computer. But again, a lot of that I think is because I just work with one person right now. I think it's important to give off, especially if you're going to be working with somebody personally, it's important to give off an aura of trustworthiness and secrecy. If you're spending a lot of time working around high-level celebrities, you're going to be exposed to things, whether you want to be or not. And the sooner somebody feels like they can trust you, the better. So if that's keeping your phone not always out, not answering phone calls when you're in the room, never kind of being a fanboy and trying to take pictures or trying to overstep and have conversation. One of my mentors, he gave me a great piece of advice, which was, don't get involved in any conversations that you are not an expert on. So a lot of the people I'm around, they like to talk about dirt bike riding, and they like to talk about skateboarding and fashion. That's not me. I'm wearing like a $5 t-shirt. That's not me. But they talk about sports. I love basketball. I know that if the conversation goes on to basketball, I can hold my own and have insight into that conversation. So I'll interject in that. But when they're talking about things I don't know, I stay out because it's not my lane. I mean, at the end of the day, to kind of go off what Nik was saying, our names are on the back of the record. Our name is not on the front, right? So at the end of the day, it's not really what you think because it's not your song. Like, you're a part of it, but it's not your song. I'm willing to do anything for any client that I'm working with, as long as it is within the realm of technical correctness, if that makes sense. I'm down. I'm not going to put the bass completely on the right side, not because I don't believe your vision, because I know that's not going to get you, it's not going to help your record translate in the way that you think it's going to. So maybe you're trying to go for a certain effect. Maybe we need to make the bass stereo at a certain point. Maybe we need to phase it a little bit, but to put the bass all the way on the right side, it's not going to translate the way you think it's going to, So I think sometimes you have to, it takes experience, but there are moments where you do have to try to use your technical expertise to kind of nudge the artist in the direction that they're trying to go, because you might understand if somebody says, yo, put the bass all the way on the right side. I don't know why I keep using that one, but like, you need to understand what that actually means so that you can give them what they're looking for and interpret kind of what they're saying.
Yeah, I kind of wanted
definitely.
I agree with everybody. I definitely wanted to kind of add on top of that. I said at first that, I think being collaborative and, asking the artist what they want and not being afraid to be yourself is important. Yes, but it is also important to also know how to read the room, like Ben and everybody else said, what I mean? Like, at first, you're not going to always be able to just interject your own personality or your own taste into what people want, like with an artist, what I mean? So it's just like, I don't think it's always so much as you need to be like, the most, the biggest, what's the term? Like a wallflower. That's important too. Don't get me wrong. Like it, what I mean? Like there's times to kind of like show your personality and show again, you're a trustworthy person and that you're actual like a human being as opposed to a robot. But again, it's about reading the room and knowing the appropriate times to do that, because, when you're there, you're in work mode, what I mean? So but it's about doing it in a way where it's just like, you're still kind of letting the artist be creative, what I'm saying? So yeah, I just kind of wanted to just clarify that.
Yeah, let me add one thing real quick too. Remember, at the end of the day, you're there to be a professional at all times. No matter how loose the session gets, no matter how much party vibes it gets, drinking, smoking, drugs, hookah, girls or guys or whatever you're into, like you're there to be a professional. This is not the club. You're not here to, like, I don't want to say not here to have fun. You can have fun in those things, but I think that you have to always remember that at the end of the day, you are hired to be here to be a professional. For me, that looks like I don't drink or smoke really, but especially not at work.
Likewise.
Even if the artists are turning up, again, if you're there in a production setting, it's a little bit different. But if you're there to be the engineer, you are there to be a professional. That means showing up on time, and by on time, I mean at least an hour early. It's not worth showing up late. I do a session every single night, 7 days a week at 11 p.m. I'm there at between 10 and 10:30 every single day. Even when I know they're not coming until 3 in the morning, I still get there at 10, because the day that you show up at 11:02 is the day that they decided to show up at 11, and now you look crazy because you're here to be a professional, and you don't cross that line of stopping being professional, because no matter how fun or how friendly you might seem with that artist, you slip up, you're out of there. Because somebody else can do it and somebody else can keep their key and be a professional.
Yeah, just to add on top of that, if you're trying to join this industry and be a recording engineer, you got to understand that your time is not really your time anymore. If a session is going to be from 8 p.m. to 8 in the morning, you have to be available for those situations. You got to figure out your sleep schedule. You got to kind of figure out your meals between those times that you need to be available for the artist. And it's not for everybody, you know. Some people prefer regiment or prefer 9 to 5 or whatever, you know. So if you're gonna join, if you're gonna be a recording engineer, just be prepared to kind of give your time up. Yeah.
And also, just to piggyback off of everything, a lot of times the sessions go over. So be prepared for that too. Like with a lot of label artists, they don't like their budget, they don't care. They'll do another 4 extra hours. And it's like, at that point, be prepared to be like, yeah, I mean, you could say no if you know, if you want to, but I mean, I also feel like being a professional is kind of like sticking it out as well. Like I'll work for as long as however long they want to work. You know what I mean? Just kind of having that mindset as well. So that's another tip.
I agree, but I also think it's very important to put your foot down from the beginning. So even if the session is going to go over, that labels you're going to get charged double my rate. And I think I made that mistake earlier on, and let it kind of just go over. But you know, with label artists, it's not their money. They don't care most of the time. You know, that's
exactly.
why
I mean, like more so like if you want to say no, you can. But for me, I don't. Like where I'm at right now, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say no to staying, but I definitely am making sure that if you have me booked for 12 hours and hour 13, you are now going to get charged extra.
Oh, of course, but like
yeah, you're now going to get charged double what you were getting charged for hour 12.
Yeah, awesome. You guys have shared some really great insights, and we're nearing the end of our discussion portion. So I think to close us out here, if you guys have any last words of advice or recommended resources for folks in the audience who are interested in diving deeper into their production and engineering journey. Any final tips?
I always tell people to find a hub, like just like a creative space to where they can like, you know, find other like-minded professionals and individuals that are trying to achieve the same things as them. For most of us, it's a recording studio. You know what I mean? Getting an internship at a studio or, you know, starting to engineer a studio. I know Alexis and Nik, you guys said you guys had Blast Off. Ben, I'm sure you had a Philly studio in Philly that you started off with. Me, I started off at Penthouse Studios in Manhattan. So that was my hub. So that was the place where I was meeting a lot of my first clients, a lot of A&Rs I met over there, a lot of my early collaborators and people that I'm still friends with to this day. So I definitely recommend finding a hub.
Yeah, I'd say get comfortable with Pro Tools. Pick an EQ, a compressor, a saturator, a reverb, and a delay plugin. Just pick 5 of them and get really comfortable with them. And then you can piggyback off of that and kind of, you know, explore other plugins yeah, be a cool person, you know, try to network as much as you can, say hi to everybody, say what's up to everybody, get people's numbers, don't be a stranger, and you never know where you're going to find yourself. Try to work with people that you be aware of your brand, and don't just work with anybody. I think I'm speaking more as you grow into this game, because initially you just got to work with whoever you can work with. But be aware of your sound and don't be afraid to say no. You know, I think that's something that I've learned as I've matured into this game. Yeah.
I would just say, know what you want to do in this career, because I feel like with engineering, everyone's like, well, first you got to do this, and then you got to do this, you got to do that. No, I do what the way I went into the music industry, I started off the standard way. And what I do now is I do whatever I feel that serves me properly. Like, you know, whether like, that's why I kind of started my artist development agency. I'm like, I could still be an engineer while still doing this. I feel like that's the biggest thing in 2022. Get used to the fact of like, you need to know the music business. There's no reason you don't know, and you have to know, because like something that wasn't said in this panel is one of the biggest issues we deal with is properly getting credited, properly getting paid. So understanding and knowing who to contact, why you're not doing, because like when I first started, I was like hitting up, you mentioned Cruz. I don't know who mentioned, I think Ben mentioned Cruz, and Cruz was a huge like mentor to me when it came to that, because I slid in his DMs one day and I'm just like, listen, I'm doing this session, I'm months behind on like getting paid. And he told me what needed to be done and how to, you know, properly get paid, and, you know, just how to just be able to stand on your own 2 feet and be okay to lose an opportunity if you feel like in your heart, like, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with missing out on certain things, you know, like I plan on being in music forever. So I'm like, it's good. Whatever I want is going to come. I'm not worried about it. You know, another thing is, as engineers, we are very technical. Technology changes every single year. Be a student every single week of the month of the year. Like, there's always a new plugin. There's always a new type of sounds change. Always be up to date on what's going on with technology. Like right now, like understanding how that relates to you as an engineer and like how you also can get paid with that. Another thing that I think Nik touched on is just, you know, making sure that like you're like, there is no standard way in a sense. I feel like with engineers, everyone's like, you got to do it this way. And it's like, no, I did it this way. And it kind of sounds the same at the same time. The artist still likes it, the label still likes it. So it's like, you know, get cool with Pro Tools. Like that needs to be like your best friend, you know, really understand it. I feel like when I do sessions and people complain about like, man, like you're way faster. I had this like other engineer, people always like shit on engineers, like I had a terrible experience, like this person didn't know what they was doing. And I think a lot of it honestly comes down to when an engineer is slow, it's probably because they don't really know the DAW, honestly, because like there's so many shortcuts. There's no reason why you can't do anything in Pro Tools within seconds in a sense. And it's just really understanding the shortcut keys. It'll take you a long way. And network, Nik said that as well. Like, you know, I say hi to everybody. Interns, those are the people you want to be cool with when it comes to every studio. They're the ones that's going to know the ins and outs, and you don't know where they're going to be. The music industry changes. I was at one point in my career, I'm in a whole other part in my career. And like, you know, the people I'm around now, before when I started, execs didn't know who I am. Execs know who I am now. So it's like your trajectory can change so quickly. There's no like, you know, one way. I feel like I'm rambling, but like, yeah, that's like all the advice I could think of to like give someone. Like, yeah, just like work hard, you know, and that's for, especially for females, like ask questions, do not be afraid. Like understand as a woman, you are just as good as any of these guys, if not better sometimes. Like keep that confidence and, you know, just don't be afraid to be yourself, you know.
Real quick shout out to Cruz, man. He helped a lot of us out.
Yes, Cruz is that guy. Listen, he's amazing.
Word.
Yeah,
Cruz, man.
Cruz and I are very close. I was with him last night. Like I said, I used to assist on him on his meet sessions. I think everybody's kind of said the same stuff, I would say. I'm trying to even think of any little things I could add. I mean, if you're working with a specific artist and you are constantly going to the same studios, make great friends with the staff and the assistants. They are working harder than you are for less money and less credits than you are. I think it's really valuable. If you can, try to credit everybody. I know because of my situation, I write the credits for our releases. And so I make sure that, you know, the team at Jungle, everybody gets credited, you know, whether they're opening the door for me or whether they're running to the store for me, like that matters. And it's how people build their careers. I do think the credit thing, you either have to decide early on that you're going to fight the battle or you're not. I don't know if I picked the right decision. I picked to fight the battle. It is a losing battle. It just is what it is. I think it's important to credit yourself. That's why I try to post everything I work on Instagram, not because I want the likes or anything, because this is my digital resume. And as engineers, you have to remember there's no, like, songwriters and producers have a legal ownership on the song. So it is illegal for them not to be credited because they have an ownership. For us, we don't have any ownership in the songs most of the time. So it's really up to somebody at the label to do it. It is what it is. Like I said, you either have to decide that you're going to fight the battle or you're not. I know some people that fight the battle. I know some people that don't fight the battle. I don't judge them either way. It kind of just is what it is. I think it's just important to, like Nik said, learn a couple plugins. If anybody here is in school, please save your money and buy plugins now while you still have an educational discount. I still use the educational. I graduated college 4 years ago. I still use the educational version of Sound Toys. I still use the educational version of FabFilter. I've upgraded my Pro Tools license now to like Ultimate, but my original Pro Tools license was when I got half off when I was in college. The plugins still work. They were exactly the same. There was no issue with them. There's no like, oh, these are just like the light version. They have full versions of the plugins. I just paid half price for them and I still use them. I think it's important to find artists that you like that are at the same level career-wise where you are. That doesn't necessarily, they could be incredibly talented, but you guys are on the same rung of your career ladder and you build with them. Because you never know if they're going to work out. And even if they don't work out, this is an opportunity for you to practice and sharpen your skills. Because if especially, you know, as a recording engineer, if you're in a big city and you're decent, opportunity is going to come, because there's just not a lot of people that want to do it. And there's not a lot of people that can do it very well and deal with all the other stuff of the hours and the being on call 24/7 and the travel. So if you're good enough and people know that you're good enough, an opportunity is going to come, but you want to make sure that you are 100% prepared when the opportunity comes. And that just comes from working. There's no drills or tips. It's just about recording more songs. I don't necessarily think that the best recording engineers are inherently better than others. I think they just have more practice and they just have recorded more songs than other people. And that's how you get better at anything. It's like with sports. And I guess the last thing, which you don't think would come up a lot as an engineer, but it does, especially when you work with a lot of labels. Before you sign anything, have a professional read it. It's totally worth it. There's a million entertainment lawyers. Having a great entertainment lawyer or manager in your corner will go a really long way, especially for women and people of color. You know, my lawyer is amazing. He's super cool dude. You would never know he's a lawyer, but he's a 40-something-year-old white dude, and he can go and curse out another 40-something-year-old white dude, label executive, about where my money is and why my credits are wrong. I'm a 26-year-old black kid that looks like he's 12. I can't go and curse out these label executives. It's not going to go well in my favor. I have somebody who will curse them out on my behalf and make sure my money is right, make sure my credits are right. I think as you progress, it's really important to have some sort of manager, some sort of lawyer, somebody who can speak on your behalf better than you can. Because I think, you know, if we're being honest, the type of personality it takes to spend years in a basement learning how to use a specific software, or to sit in a room and watch somebody say the same line 300 or 400 or 500 times is not the same type of personality that's going to go into a boardroom and bang on the table and be like, where's my money? So you need to have somebody who's willing to do that for you. And I think that'll help your career progress faster.
And just to back off of what Vin said, I am the kind of person to bing on. So what I had to learn was, yeah, you don't do that when you're in the music world. Like, you have to be professional. Someone pisses you off, you know, I'm from the hood, I'm from the Bronx, so my mindset is like, what? And it's like, you can't be like that. You gotta, you know, obviously get your respect, but there's a way to do it. It's chess, not checkers. So definitely have a lawyer. My lawyer is amazing. I have her on deck every single time there's an issue. Like, I have her phone number. Like, I'm very close to my lawyer. So it's like, you don't have to be besties with your lawyer, but like, make sure that when you have your money, even if you got to pay extra money, make sure that you invest in someone to make sure that your business and your legal is good, because the industry will not care, like, point blank period. And something else that I wanted to just kind of piggyback off of something that Vin said was to find an artist that's on the same level as you as an engineer. That's literally what I did with Nezzy when I started off. We both had just started, and we've been in the industry now for 3 years, going on 4. Last year, she ended up on Obama's playlist. So, and it's just like, that's something building with someone. I went from her engineer, I do everything with her now, but it's like, it helped me grow even more as a creative. So don't be afraid of finding an artist. Like, you could do both, work with, you know, label artists. It won't be at the capacity of being someone's recording engineer, but you could still work with labels and still build with someone. So you get the best of both worlds, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, sorry, I just got to throw this in there. Engineers are the most unappreciated part of the music making. You know, we really are. And a narrative that I would like to change is ownership. You know, producers get mastering rights and songwriters get publishing rights to music. I've recently started negotiating percentages, like actual points for songs that I've mixed. And I think that should be more common among engineers. It's very rare.
Absolutely.
And I want that, and that's not something that cannot not be changed. You know, I think we you know, whatever we tolerate will kind of happen, and sometimes we feel like we're very expendable. It's not the case, especially when you're good and you're a professional. So I like for engineers, I'm championing and pioneering for engineers to have more ownership in records, and I hope to see that more going forward.
Me too. I had a situation where I was recording a song. The song got sent out to be mixed. The label and the mixing and the A&R and the mixing engineer wanted the song to be shorter. The song was like 4.5 minutes long. They wanted the song to be shorter. So they called the producer. The producer told them to call me to do it. So then I called my lawyer. I said, okay, where's the line here? I said, if they're calling the producer, telling the producer to shorten the record, the producer's telling them to call me to do it, I now need to be cut in on this record because you are now asking me to do your job.
Yep.
You have to be willing to say that. Not a lot of people are willing to say that. A lot of people are just going to do it. And it's like, all right, what was the worst that was going to happen? They said no. I said, all right, here's a session. You got it. It's not my job
and
anymore.
There's a fine line with engineering and production. That's one thing we have to keep in mind. And for anyone who's coming up, understand that like doing a drop, that's production. It's not engineering. That's like, I had to learn that early on, that like I was doing certain things and I'm like, wait, I need my credit because this is a make or break. There's a lot of things that people think like a producer did, but it's really the engineer. So I'm happy that you guys all feel the same way that I do when it comes to credits and like ownership and really fighting for what you deserve, because that is somebody.
There's no reason that if you're working with a major artist and somebody's sending you beats and you are playing beats that you didn't make, that you should not be getting cut in on it. Point blank, period. It doesn't matter.
You're placing these records, like you're placing them like.
That's what A&Rs do, right?
Exactly,
that's their whole job. So if I'm placing beats for you, we are pre-negotiating the terms of this. If so-and-so raps on this beat, this is what my percentage is on everything. And if you don't want to, hey man, there's millions of people who make beats. Millions, man. Find somebody else. And the beautiful thing is most producers are cool and they'll be like, yeah, that's totally fine. You're playing my beats, yeah. They'll a lot of times they'll lead the conversation with, yo, if you place my beat, I'll give you X. You don't even have to lead.
They do that a lot.
A lot of times they'll lead the conversation, but if they don't, there's no reason now why, especially if you're working with a major artist, that if you're playing beats for somebody, that they're not cutting you in. Because if they don't want to, then my response is, okay, cool. Go call the A&R, go call somebody else to get them these beats if they're that pressing, you don't want to cut me in.
Yeah, I think that's a really great tip.
You guys spitting. All you guys are spitting.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's a really great tip to end on. You guys have shared so many great insights. So I do actually want to open it up to the Q&A for our audience to also get a chance to ask you guys some more questions.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pass it off to Christy.
Right. We got a couple of questions from our Instagram. So the first one I see is, how do you handle deadlines, especially when multiple projects are going on?
You make it work. I don't know. The other answer. I mean, it's not, you know at the end of the day, you're not the final decision on this deadline, right? And if the deadline is like, you always remember in the back of your head that like 99% of deadlines are flexible. But at the end of the day, like you have to meet whatever deadline is set to you and you have to try to deliver. That's what you're here. You're like, especially when you start mixing records, like a lot of people get mixes just because they can do them faster and they can meet their schedule's open, they can meet the deadline. And if the deadline is flexible, it'll get moved without you having to do anything, but you still need to work towards meeting it. But it's not up to you to change it. Somebody will change it if it needs to be changed. Like, there's tons of times where we've needed to turn features in. Yo, gotta get this feature in by Thursday. And we sent the feature in by Tuesday and it still made it. But that wasn't my call. I didn't get to decide whether the feature got turned in on Tuesday or Thursday. I had nothing to do with that. I was just there. But most deadlines are flexible. At the end of the day, like, even if it's pressing or not, we're not doing brain surgery here, guys. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that serious, but your job is still to make that work and hit up Starbucks and get some coffee and push through the night and get them deadlines in.
Yeah, you just got to deliver sometimes.
Yeah, I would say also kind of think ahead. What I do is like, if I know, like I always kind of leave room in my day for if a label calls me to do a mix, because like labels always act like everything's so ASAP, like you got to get it, we got it. And it's like, I'll send it to them and I'll know when someone opens an email and they didn't open it until days later. I'm like, they could have waited on this, but I see how they move. But it's fine because they have a lot of pressure on their end. As you know, when you understand the business side, you understand that like they also don't have control. When the A&R is calling, it's because someone else is telling them, hey, we need this a lot of times too. So what I do with indie artists, I'm like, I give them a week's time. With labels, is very much, I'm gonna be honest, that's just what I do. Like I make sure I turn it in a little bit quicker because I mean, that is what it is. Who doesn't want to work with a certain label client. Like if you say no, they'll just find someone else that will do it, and they'll probably do it for free because a lot of engineers will do that as well. So it's kind of like making sure that you're prepared to, like, okay, today a label might call me, they might want them to mix by tomorrow. I've had times I've had to turn in a mix the same day sometimes because like something was quick and needed to go on radio or whatever, and it's like you kind of have to be ready. Just know that if you say no, okay, they'll go to somebody else. So be prepared for that too. You could say no, but just know that they'll find somebody else, you know?
Can I add something to that real quick? What you said about they'll find somebody else to do it for free, make this very clear for everybody in the chat. If a record label is asking you to do something, there's zero reason that you should ever do it for free, period. No, like, I don't understand, oh, I'm trying to get my foot in the door. No, because if you start doing work for free, then you devalue every single other person that's on this call, every single other person that's trying to record a song, every single other person that's making a record. You devalue all of us and you devalue yourself. So if a label is asking you to do something, there is a price tag attached to that at all times. Record a song, turn a file in, do a mix, do a temp mix, do a spec, nothing. There's nothing that any label can ask you to do for free, period, ever.
Absolutely.
Even if it's your first chance, because you have to set your rate somewhere, and they'll keep asking for free, and then you devalue everybody else.
Yeah. And they'll circle back, so don't be afraid. I've said no a lot of times if like the budget wasn't what I wanted, and then they went to someone else, but then another project came, they called me again. So I'm like, exactly. So like you realize you have worth. Like it doesn't matter. They're still gonna call.
If you're good, people are always gonna call you back.
Exactly.
That's just a fact. That's that I've learned. If you're good, people are always gonna call you back.
Right. By the way, if anyone in the audience has any questions, please use the raise hand feature so we can call on you. But if there aren't any questions at the moment, I can move on to the next Instagram question. Oh, okay. Actually, let's call on is that JT? Would you like to ask your question?
Hi, JT.
Hello. Oh man, this is kind of weird. Hello. Yeah, I'm JT. So yeah, my name's JT. I'm a freelance, more kind of engineer, but like recently I started working with my collective. Baha'i is their name. So now as an engineer, like I realize it's more like I have to go and look for clients. Obviously, they're not just gonna come running to me. The number one thing I usually struggle with is picking up clientele, right? Like, and I've been doing this for a year. I picked up a good client base, but things slowed down because of constant COVID restrictions and stuff, and people blah blah blah. But what is your approach when you realize like you're not getting as much work? You're realizing it's kind of starting to demotivate yourself to want to keep going. Like, what would you?
How long did you say you've been doing it professionally?
Professionally, I've been doing this for 2 years now.
Okay, you got to put a couple more years in. I mean, I'm here to be honest. I'm not here to lie. You're gonna have to put a couple more years in because that's just how it goes. You have to get more experience and more connections. Don't get discouraged now because, like, I always like to say, like, with music, like some people are Justin Bieber and Scooter Braun hears their music when they're 12 years old, and next thing you know, they're getting signed by Usher. And Bieber's been famous for almost 12 years at this point. And some people are like 2 Chainz, and 2 Chainz was grinding for like 15 years. And then when it worked out, it really, really worked out. It just took 15 years. Some people get discovered when they're 13. Some people get discovered when they're 35. It just is what it is. But if it's something you want to do, you have to just keep pushing. The clients will come. Continue to do good work and be good by people, and don't be a dick. The work will come, but 2 years isn't long enough to feel like you haven't put enough time in,
Yeah, I'd also say get really good at branding and marketing for yourself. If you don't have a website, create a website. Make sure your social media presence is on top of things. You're consistently posting things, whether it's on your story or your actual feed on a consistent level. And yeah, I mean, you're providing a service. So if just treat yourself literally treat yourself as a service-based business. Think of yourself as a startup that is in the business of mixing or recording or whatever it is, and approach it from there. Create an LLC for yourself, obviously, or an S corp or whatever. And don't be afraid to Instagram and Facebook market and put money and invest in yourself and get the word out there. Don't be afraid to drop snippets of your mixes and say, hey, you want your shit to sound like this? Hit me up, hit the DMs. So yeah, just shout your name from the rooftops.
Right.
So I'm gonna give you a tip. Go on TikTok, create a TikTok, get an artist that's comfortable with you showing their before mix and then after, and literally just do a bunch of TikToks, do that shit 3 times, 5 days a week. You're gonna get work, literally, because I see people on YouTube and they'll be like, buy my vocal template, and people be under those comments about to buy them, and I'm like, these people be getting these people like crazy. So like,
buy my vocal template for an artist I've never worked for before.
Exactly. Like people, like, let's also understand that we are now in a digital social media age. So it's like everyone's getting it how they get it. So like, if you feel like you're not getting enough work, do exactly what they do, because they get business all the time. I watch these people on YouTube making a killing, and they don't know shit about the artists that they're talking about. They have vocal templates for. So, social media, I would say.
Alexis, you work with a lot of labels, right?
Mm-hmm.
I as well. And I think everybody else in the chat. So can we just dispel this myth that like, because we work with labels, we're making tons of money? There are people I know.
That's a myth.
They're working with regular artists, and they're getting paid at reasonable intervals.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real honest with y'all. I'm verified on Engineers, so me and Ali talk. We've talked a lot, and I've asked him when he asked me to get on Engineers. I'm like, let me ask you a question. Are you, because the whole purpose of him is to like create a platform for engineers to be able to like really be on their shit owning. And I was just like, are you also still dealing with issues with labels? He was like, I still fight for that. And that's Ali, mixed by Ali. So like, understand, you will be fighting for stuff. Just get used to it. Like Ben said, you're either gonna fight for it or you're not. So yeah.
And if you don't want to fight, it's okay. Like there's some really successful mixing engineers. So there's some really successful mixing engineers that I know that don't care about credits. They're like, look, is a check coming? Cool. Credit me, don't credit me, whatever. I don't care. It is what it is. If you don't want to fight, it's okay. I chose to fight. Some people choose not to fight. It is what it is.
Okay. Yeah. That's another thing. Like, there's a lot of times where it's like, the money is always an issue for, because these are like artists that are not like signed by labels. They're more like artists that are doing this for their own time. They're trying to invest in it, So there's a lot of times there's like, as soon as like, maybe they don't have the funds available and I try to negotiate and they start making problems during the session and stuff like that. Like dealing with certain type of artists and money issue, how do you guys usually like go about them? Like,
sorry, I'm gonna have to cut that off really quick. I'm so sorry. We have to move on to our last question and close off our Q&A session. Lottie, would you like to ask the last question if you can unmute yourself?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. Lottie was good.
Yo, what's up, dog? Sorry, I'm off camera. I'm sick, so I look crazy. But first off, thank all y'all for being here. Learned a lot. I'm a songwriter and I do a lot of recording at home. So I appreciate Engineers so much. When I learned how to record myself and I realized how fucking hard it is just to do that. Appreciate some of the tips that y'all gave, but I'm just trying to figure out, how do I get y'all's templates? You don't got to tell me how much it is right now, but I really just go around just like trying to get templates from different engineers because I like to try out different things, like change the settings and stuff. So
just
all right, bet. So got you.
Yeah, I have my template. It's not gonna
mine, so yeah,
it's not gonna sound what you think it's gonna be. I'm bringing the sauce to the template.
Exactly. That's a big thing.
Well, I can't afford all y'all. That's the thing. I know y'all, work a lot for labels and stuff, so I can't actually afford to like go to every engineer and get stuff done. So that's why.
Yeah, I'd say try to build your own template. You can definitely get templates from people and do that. But if you're thinking about this in a broader sense, you really want to get good at plugins and using your own ear and developing your own ear, and that you got to put in the work. You do got to grind and
I want to add this, and Nick, you can be vouch because we both was at Blast Off, so we could just keep it all the way 1,000. Yeah. When I first started, Nick was the head engineer. I would go in and steal his mixes. I'm like, how the fuck this shit sound? Like I would go in after the session, like, what is he doing? and I would like take stuff home and mix it. My stuff never sounded like that. It took me 2.5 years for me to get to the level where it's like now I feel like me and Nik are like head and head. Like you do a mix, I can do a mix, and that shit's gonna sound just as good. He's calling me like now I'm like looked at as his competition, but that was not the case. It took time. Like listen to a lot of music. Like I know that's like, oh, just do that, but no, I study mixes. If you play me a mix, I know who mixed it. I know Jason's sound, I know Ali's sound, Thurbin, Meek. I study these people, and that's how you really get good. Like listen to all the songs on the radio and all the songs that are like going off on Billboard, and listen to those songs, dissect them, and figure out why is this, you know, going, what makes people addicted to this type of sound. And that's really what it is. Like I don't use a template. I could walk in any studio, I don't even need my template. I can make it on the spot, because it's like Ben said, it's the sauce. Like it's years and hours I've stood late night with the lights off, with my eyes closed, listening to sounds. Like it gets that technical, but when you really focus on that, you will get good. Like I used to not be able to hear compression. I know what compression sounds like now. Like there was a lot of sounds I didn't hear in the beginning. Like you have to have that ear training, what Nik said.
Let me add to that real quick, to the listening part. Listen to songs in the environment that you work in at the same volume, something that you could have a conversation if somebody was sitting next to you at. But you have to listen in the same place at the same volume, because that is what will separate. That's what will start to make things sound different. Because if you constantly are blasting your ears off, your ears can't perceive the difference between amplitude changes at high volumes. So you need to listen at a volume that you're comfortable having a conversation with somebody sitting next to you in the same environment over and over and over and over and over. Like I believe that when you're early on in your career, and honestly, even to the point where none of us on this chat are very old, we're still early, you know. I think I try to listen to more music than I make, you know. I listen to more music than I work on, and that's how you get better. And then you'll start to hear the things, and things will start to come out and stuff. But getting people's templates, like, I mean, there's tons of YouTube videos of people like making songs that sound cool, you know. There's this dude named Make Pop Music. His channel is amazing.
He's awesome.
Yeah,
He's
love
awesome.
his channel. Love his
awesome.
channel.
Really, if you're down to spend some money, I strongly recommend getting a Mix with the Masters account. I enjoy mine. Some of the videos are kind of trash, but some of them are really good. There's other great resources on YouTube. I know Ken Lewis did a couple of videos probably like 10 years ago.
Yeah, he's great.
Videos are great. I mean, just go on YouTube and just like look shit up. That's how I figured it out.
I just want to add too, guys, like, don't be afraid to slide in people's DMs. I don't know if you guys know who Mix by Tilly is. He's like QC's like top mixing engineer. When I went to Atlanta, I was going to Atlanta, and I just slid in his DMs like, hey, he did this song with Little Baby and Baby, and that shit was clean as hell. And I was like, yo, I like this. Don't be afraid to be honest if you like someone's stuff. And like, literally when I went to Atlanta, I pulled up at his house and like I played my mixes, and that's how I also got better, because he was the first person to tell me like, you don't really use delays like that. Like you need to start like really focusing on delays. And then this song with Nezzy called On the Way, if you listen, that's probably the best delays like from any work I did before, because I really had someone that was knowledgeable to tell me like other engineers will give you like insight and stuff like that. Like hit one of us up if you have a question, bring a legit question, like actually like show me that you've actually been putting in the work. But like don't be afraid to slide in people's DMs. Like I hit up everybody, I don't care who they are, from execs, I slide in everybody's DMs. Like they're like, don't be afraid of these people. They're regular people like you, and like if you want to know something, like don't be afraid. I can tell you I ask people everything, you know, and that's, I feel like that's how I, you know.
The secrecy is gone, right? Like the game used to be this like, yo, I'm like working undercover and I'm not going to tell you everything. Look, man, Servin, who is the most successful mixing engineer ever, right? At one point, the man had 8 out of the top 10 songs on Billboard. He has a pair of Pro Acts, which aren't even that expensive. A pair of Pro Acts is maybe $3,000, right? He has a pair of Pro Acts and he works entirely in the box. He's been working entirely in the box since the early 90s. So that means that you could buy the exact same setup the best engineer, the best mixer ever has, right? There's no outboard gear. There's no fancy $40,000 speakers. He has Pro Acts and plugins. So If he's using Pro X and plugins, I'm using Pro X and plugins, we're all using the same stuff, then it's not about the template. It's not about the tools. It's about the ear. Right. It's about because back in the day, right, the reason people like Servant and the reason people like Manny, the reason people like Jason have so many clients is because before you had to have a studio, you had to have an SSL, you had to be in LA, you had to have these specific things. You had to be tied to a big name producer. Servant was working with like the guys from, he was working with the guys from Virginia. That's why he still's in Virginia. You know, Manny was working with Kanye. Like you had to work with these big level people. And that's how those guys collected so many clients. But it's not like that anymore. We all have the same tools. So you just gotta learn, like getting templates, and it just comes from practice. You know, we all are using, every single one of us has the same plugins on our computer. We might have, like all of us that are in the chat, we might have like, oh, I have this cool little plugin from this third-party company. But I know y'all got Waves, FabFilter, Santos. We all have the same stuff.
We all got Waves.
We all got Slate. Got the same shit.
Thank you so much, Lottie, for that question. But I'm gonna have
Appreciate
to
y'all. Thank you.
Q&A session really quick. Yeah, so now we're going to jump into the listening session because we have a lot of music submitted by our community. So I'm going to pass it off to Bea, if you can.
Bea, before you start, really quickly, also it's 1:20. Hi everyone, I'm Alexis, again, the founder of Finesse Media. It is 1:20. The event is supposed to end at 1:30, but this conversation is awesome and you all are really sharing a lot of information, so thank you. But if any of you have to hop off at 1:30, we totally get it. We have the listening session, which usually takes approximately 20 to 30 minutes or so. And yeah, if anyone has to hop off, does anyone have to hop off exactly at 1:30?
No, I'm good to go.
I may have to, but I'll let you know because I'm supposed to be going somewhere. But I do want to stay for this, so yeah, I'll write in the chat if I have to leave.
Cool. All right. Thanks, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and go back on mute. Bea, off to you.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that was a really just amazing conversation. You guys shared so much. So now we're gonna hop into our listening session. The purpose of these listening sessions is for artists in our community to get some really valuable feedback from industry professionals. It also gives them a chance to get more exposure for their music, and it also gives our community a chance to discover new music. So I am going to share my screen. Okay, can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, cool. So this is going to be, sorry, give me one moment. This is going to be our first submission, which is Madmax by Scout.
Evan, is that you? Madmax in his bag, boy.
I'm gonna pause us right here. Nick, I saw you bopping your head along. Do you have any feedback for Madmax?
Yeah, for sure. I thought that was dope. I do think the horns sound a little VST, like a little little logic-ier. I think you could try to find a different synth or VST for it. I do like the progression and the production. I'm a fan of the drums as well. But yeah, the violin and the horns I think the actual melody line is fire, but maybe try switching it up for a different horn sound.
I thought that was
Yeah,
fire.
Demi, do you have something to add?
I thought that was fire. Like I like the switch up from like the plug 808 to like the spins 808. He's probably gonna know what I mean. Yeah, like that was fire. I like that. Like I be doing that a lot myself these days, like just using two 808s at different parts of the beat. That's fire. So
Yeah, Ben, do you have anything that you want to add? Any feedback for Madmax?
No, I mean, I think it sounded good. I definitely feel that on the horn sound, maybe put a little RC20 on it or something just to give it a little bit of vibes. I think it's hard sometimes to judge the mix of a beat without vocals because I don't really think it matters. But no, I think it sounded good.
Awesome. Alexis, do you have anything to add?
Loved it. It was just the only thing that stood out was just I feel like the horns. There's certain EQs that certain things I would cut because it's like certain things sticking out. But other than that, I liked it.
Okay,
Yeah, maybe the
awesome.
horns could be a little more stereo too. That's the thing I was thinking.
Like a little more,
a little width.
The horns to like kind of like spread it out some. But I like where he's going. I even liked how I liked how the 808 sounded. It was good.
Okay, awesome. So we're gonna move on to the next song, and actually, since we are running a little bit behind on time, I'm maybe only gonna have like 2 or 3 of you comment per song, if that's okay. Okay. All right, so this is Y'all Like Pain by Mercury Mac.
As the world slowly continues to hinge within itself, I pray that everybody stays in tune with their surroundings, make the appropriate decisions, and stay consistent with who you are. You turn down elevation so you can kick it with the homies, but they phony, now your chance is gone and they done left you lonely. Only the strong survive is what they told you when they showed you. They ain't give a fuck about you and proceeded to just throw you overboard and for a loop as well. Cause the ship you built and sailed, and they riding in and laughing, and the bird was flipped as well. Well done, you sacrificed your freedom for the fame. As the clown of the class, now you a casualty of the game. It's temporary pleasure for the permanent pain. I'm trying to show you how to flip it, hustle now for your gain. Long as you live and never quit and give your dreams everything. Love your family, feed your followers, and stay in your lane. While you run your race, the hater make both of your ankles sprain. They gon' complain, and if you help them, they talk down on your name. They like crabs in a bucket or a ball in a chain. We ain't the same, man, cause y'all like pain. Cause y'all like pain. You wanna see me out in the rain. You don't wanna see me do my thing. And y'all like pain, man, I promise it's a goddamn shame. Some of y'all worse than Abel and Cain. Out to your mind frame. Y'all don't wanna see me pop champagne. Y'all wanna see me broke, dead, or detained. Man, it's inhumane. I'm David Blaine to the public domain. I abstain from what you trying to arrange, man. Cause y'all like convincing you to
All right, that was Y'all Like Pain by Mercury Mac. Do any of you guys have any feedback?
I think the song. You can go, Ben.
No, you got it.
All right, cool. Yeah, I think the song's very good. I would just mixing wise, I think those doubles just need to be tightened up a little bit. And yeah, I think the vocals were just a little, I wouldn't say low, but it's just like there wasn't a lot of interest mixing wise in the vocal. So yeah, just getting those a little bit more crispier will help. But I think the song itself is pretty good. I like the structure of it. So
yeah, very Outkast inspired. It sounds like Outkast vibes. I would say bring that vocal. The vocals kind of need to feel like in your face. So that's compression. Like maybe throwing like an LA2A out. That's like one of my favorites to kind of give it more of an in your face type of like hip hop vibe. And the doubles definitely clean them. Maybe lower them and like pan them. I hate when like doubles and vocals they're like so close together. Like definitely just have them more spaced out.
Yeah, I think the overall feel of the mix was good, but I do think the technical side of it could be improved. I think there was a lot of plosives I heard. So even if you can't get those out during recording, you could use something like RX to get rid of them. I think it definitely needs to be de-essed more, whether that's manually or with a plugin, because those S's were really jumping out, especially when the doubles came in. So like even when the doubles come in, sometimes I really turn the S's almost gone completely from the doubles so that they don't get kind of overwhelming.
All right, awesome. So we're gonna move on to the next song. This is Carousel by Amaya Santos, and this is, I believe, one of the first songs that she co-produced. And she is also an amazing member of our community.
Don't know how somehow we're here again. I know we both said last time, boy, I need you here. Yeah, somehow I feel this right. Let go of the past. All I really know is I want more. And I'm on this carousel. Somehow I can't let go. We go round in circles. Feelings are getting no. We trap me in your games and tangle me in your cage. I'm caught up somehow again. We got round to round. I love you, I hate you, but no matter what I do, I just can't forget you. We got round to round. 1 minute you leave me, and the next we're back again. Don't know who is asleep. We got round and
All right. Nick, I saw you vibing. You have any feedback for Amaya?
Yeah, no, that was super dope. I think the vocals sound great. I think I would maybe personally I'd bury them a little bit more with the other, because there's so much going on with the other instrumentation. And maybe add some reverb, but I'm really just dissecting it. That was a great sounding song.
Awesome. Does anyone else have any feedback for Amaya?
I thought the song was fire, so.
Yeah, I love the sonics. I love
Yeah.
the long reverb in the beginning. I'm like, she got me. I'm like, I'm here for it.
Awesome. Yeah, we Amaya. She always shares really great music. So we are going to move on to our next submission.
I have to leave, guys, but this is great. If anyone wants to connect with me, just hit me up on Instagram, but I gotta leave, guys.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you so much for joining us, Alexis. Hope we see you soon.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace, Alexis.
Of course, we're gonna connect. All right, bye.
For sure.
See ya.
Later.
All right. So our next submission is Nothin to Something by, I believe it's pronounced Leigha Rose and Desi. So I'm gonna pause it there. Do any of you guys have any feedback for this song?
The vocal needs to take up way more space. Like, it's a combo of it sounds good. The production sounds good. The vocal sounds good. It just needs to take up more space. Like, it's a combo of it being too soft, too many frequencies in the lower mid range, like in the 300 to 850 are carved out, and it needs like almost like a Sound Toys like micro shift on it, or like a Waves doubler or something to just like make it take up more space. I don't know what you guys think, but that's the first thing I heard.
Usually I love delays, reverbs, crazy stuff like that. Like I said earlier, but I think some of the throws and delays and reverbs on this need to take a little bit of a step back and bring the lead vocal a little bit more forward, because at least in the beginning, I felt like it was just a little bit distracting. You know what I mean? Like, just kind of listening to like a bunch of the like those background vocals going around in those throws. So, but yeah, I think the song's really good regardless. But I just think some of the extra effects need to take a little bit of a step back.
Yeah, she has a great voice. I don't know if there's any like parallel compression going on, but I think that could probably elevate it and kind of lift the vocals up into a better space. It's definitely very quiet. But I did like the progression of the song. You know, it was very unique. And I like the use of space. I think it's highly underrated. And yeah.
I think this is like a good moment to quickly point out what Alexis had said earlier, because all three of us gave the same feedback, but different. We all suggested different ways to get it done. You know, like Amil, you suggested like pulling back on the delay throws. I suggested like some sort of micro shift kind of chorusing plugin. You know, Nik, you suggested some parallel compression. So we all suggested the same. So it shows that there's like different ways to get kind of the same result.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, that's a really awesome point. So yeah, that was Nothing to Something by Leigha Rose. We're gonna move on to the next one. This is Distant Dreams. Do any of you guys have any feedback?
I think I like a lot of the chords they use and how it progressed. I just think, you know, whether I think you need to kind of work on how you're guiding us through the song. Some parts of it feel a little anticlimactic. Like, you know, there was like a drop in the production and then it came back and the drums didn't knock as hard as I felt like they should have. So just definitely work on your drums and just like, you know, in your arrangement, just since the music is so busy and you know, I think the chords were very interesting. Just do things to service the song, I guess, you know, hitting in impactful ways where it should. So yeah.
All right, does anyone else have anything to add?
Yeah, I'd agree too. I think some of the vocal chops were I mean, they were dope, but maybe just adding them in a more tasteful manner across the song would be dope. Yep.
Awesome. So that was Distant Dreams by Amanda Lee. We're gonna move on to the next song, which is 2K. This is 2K Baby by Queen Mars, and just to preface it, it is a demo.
Give me what I want, till death will never part, but only for a price. Will you always have my heart? And you may think I'm crazy to want so much, well maybe it's not my fault I'm lazy. I'm just a 2K baby. He asked for a Bobby, got a breast with a juicy little booty in the backyard. That little on me 'cause I run him like a track star. He keep coming 'cause I keep that baby fat. Lip gloss popping, bossy bitch, I'm on the map, yeah. Off that boardwalk with these technicolor stacks, yeah. I would never say my love don't cost a thing. Why can't I say the simple life is not for me? You can touch
right, that was 2K Baby by Queen Mars. Do you guys have any feedback for her?
I mean, it just kind of sounds, the sonics are there, but it definitely sounds like a demo. I think the vocals just need to come up and the drums need to, be a little bit more full. I think I like the direction the song's going in. I like some of the vocal treatments. I think the kind of low under voice doesn't need to be in the whole time. I think it can like come in and out. And I think there was that certain times where it felt like the vocal was falling behind the beat. So maybe it just needs to be nudged a little bit. But I definitely like the general direction it's going in for sure.
Engineering wise, like engineering and mixing wise, I'm not sure what to comment on because you did say it was a demo, so I can't really be like, oh, it's like, no, it needs to have this and that. But production wise, I think you have a really good voice. But I also think, you have a good starting point. With like being that this is a demo, but I do think, this is something that when you're actually ready to officially release it, go back and re-record it, but just kind of just do it with that confidence, you know what I mean? Because we can hear that it's just like you're kind of marking through it just to kind of get the song, just to get your ideas out. But when it comes time to actually cut the final version, you definitely want to come back around and like, all right, I'm really giving this a real performance, you know what I mean? So
Yeah. I agree with that too. I think maybe some changes in the progression of things would be dope. It's pretty like the production's a little bit linear. Maybe like a beat pause or some added instrumentation would take it a long way for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So that was 2K Baby by Queen Mars. And I think we have one or two more left.
So actually, real quick, I do got to run.
Yeah, no worries.
Great
Thank you so much for joining us, Nick. Hope we see you soon. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Nick. Bye.
Have a good one, Nick.
And for those that are just really quickly, for those that are still in the audience, thank you for sticking around. We did drop the contact sheet in the chat if anyone would like to connect with us offline. The format of this event was a little bit different today, but feel free to connect with us on our socials and the contact sheet. If anyone has to hop off, you're welcome to check out the chat.
All right. So next, this is Shine Robbins. All right. Do you guys have any feedback for Shine?
Really? The intro. Oh no, you got it. You got it.
Oh yeah. The only thing I really kind of wasn't really feeling was the bass, not because of the music, like the part itself, but I think like mixing wise, it could either come up or it needs some compression. If I were mixing this song, I would probably, of course, EQ the bass a little bit different. I would probably use a plugin called MV2. It's like a dynamic processor that hits both sides of the bass, the wave plugin.
Yeah.
So I would just bring the bass a little bit more up, especially because it's so exposed with just drums and bass. So I think that's the only moving melodic part in that section. So it needs to come up and just kind of be felt a little bit differently. But otherwise, I think the general vibe of the song, the beat is very good though. So
Yeah, I like that plugin. It's almost like a low end enhancer.
Yeah.
But not in the same way as like
it's like our bass.
But our bass is like more subby.
Yeah,
you know?
Word.
I think it could. So I really like the intro because I didn't know where we were going from that, and I thought that was dope. The two things I would say is definitely for the bass, some compression, and honestly a little bit of color, because it sounds like it's a VST emulation of a live bass, which is fine. There's some great ones, but it just could use a little color, whether that's something like an RC20 to add a little bit of noise, or that's like a Sound Toys like radiator, a little radiator or something. I saw the comment in the chat that there'll be a vocalist on this. So I think it was like around 1 minute where there was the bass, there was the main drum elements, but then there was kind of like a hand drum element, and there was like the keys. I felt like there was just too many distinct rhythms going on at once. And not necessarily because they were playing different patterns, but it just felt like some stuff was hitting right on the one, some stuff was like swung a little bit behind, but it wasn't like a consistent swing. So the rhythm was kind of hard to identify, because it was like the drum would hit and then the bass would hit and then the keys would hit, but it wasn't like a consistent swing. So I think in order so that a vocalist can lock in, it should just be like a consistent, it's okay if it's falling behind the beat, but I think it just needs to be like a more consistent, tighter rhythm.
Yeah, great. So that was Scared by Sean Robbins, and we are gonna move on to our last submission, which is oh, sorry. This is Icarus by EL.SY.
I tried playing with fire, going up in smoke. I felt so alive. We weren't meant to go higher, but I was down for the ride. Should've known by then we'd go too far. When we got too close, it fell apart. Jumping the gun, chasing the sun, crashed on the bus. You got my head high, you had me from the start. I'll be your Icarus, defeated by the odds, but we were like Greek gods. I'll be gone.
All right, that was Icarus by EL.SY. Do you guys have any feedback for EL.SY?
I love the melodic parts of it. Like the vocal, I think it's dope. I think the synths are dope. I just think the drum programming needs to be, I'm trying to think of the right word to describe it. I think just the drum sound selection needs to be stronger. I think like the clap in the beginning could be a clap that had a little bit more frequency spectrum. That clap kind of it almost felt like there was like a band pass on the clap. So we're missing a lot of the high end on it. I think that was really what I was missing. I think it could just been a stronger kick sound. And I just think overall, in terms of the drums, there could have just been tighter contemporary sounds.
I honestly
do you
thought
have anything to add?
I thought the song was really fire. But yeah, I think against all that thick production, definitely make sure your vocals are, at the forefront of it. You know what I mean? Because it's almost, there were points in time where your voice is almost fighting against all this interesting stuff in the production, like these different basses and these heavy synths and pads. So just make sure that your vocals are just right at the forefront, so that it's just like, even though we have all this interesting stuff going on in the back, it's just like the vocal is still the main center point. But I do love the vocal production though, especially when the chorus hits. I like how there's a lot of different doubles and heavy reverb on there. So
maybe a little stereo spreading as well could help.
Definitely some imaging stuff you could do in there too. So
yeah, there's you could use the Waves S1 plugin and not necessarily play with the width, but You know what I'm talking about, where you play with like the rotation for some of the
Yeah.
synths. So, because right now it feels like they're all sitting right here, but this is where we want the vocal to sit right here. So I'd love if like a synth was sitting here and then
Yeah.
another synth was kind of sitting kind of here. So it's not panned like full 45, it's more like a 20 on each of them. So you don't lose that center space. There's another, I don't know why we keep going waves plugins today, but I guess that's what we're doing. So a waves plugin called Center that you can use to, it's kind of like a mid-side processing.
Right,
You can
yeah,
use
yeah.
that to reduce some of the center frequencies of some of those synths so that vocal can still shine, but you're still getting that character from the synth sounds, you know?
Right.
Yeah, awesome. So that was Icarus by EL.SY, and that was our last song for our listening session. So yeah, thank you to all the artists submitted. They're really amazing music, and thank you, Denley and Ben, for sharing your valuable feedback. And I'm going to pass it off to Christy to close us out.
I'm actually going to pass it off to Alexi to close it up.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you all so much for being a part of our event today. It was a little bit different. So for those of you who are in the beginning where we did have a hacker, thank you so much for your patience. Usually this does happen if the Zoom link has been shared outside of the community. So please just know if you are going to come to our future events, please don't share the Zoom link publicly because it can lead to hackers. But outside of that, Ben and Denley/Amil, thank you so much for sharing your advice. This was an incredible panel. For those of you, so I did allow for people to share to start in the chat and to also unmute themselves. So if you did have a good time and you learned something today, can you unmute yourself and give us a little woo woo? Cool, awesome. And then also, although Alexis and Nick are no longer here they're no longer on the panel today, we want to definitely say thank you to them as well. We dropped their socials in the chat. KitKat, would you mind dropping their socials again and dropping our socials? That way, if you all want to connect offline, then you're more than welcome to. For the artists that submitted your music and the producers, thank you so much for submitting. We hope that you got some valuable feedback. And then I'm going to pass things off to Jordan just very quickly, who's our events manager, to close us out with the upcoming events. Jordan? Oh, maybe we lost.
Yeah, I can't turn my camera on for some reason. But yeah, hi everyone, I'm Jordan, the events manager here, and thank you all for being here. It was such a dope event, and I'm just going to tell you about our upcoming events coming up in the rest of February. So next week, you can look forward to Bea again hosting a panel on
It's artist management.
Artist management, Jordan.
Artist management next week with Tammy hosting, and we have some really cool managers coming to speak with us. And then Bea, there we go, hosting a panel. And for last week in February, I'll be hosting a panel on celebrating Black music. And then we'll also have our big A&R panel after that. So a lot to look forward to. Thanks.
Awesome. Denley and Ben, how can people stay in touch? Actually, any last pieces of advice that you would give to an upcoming producer or engineer that, or any advice that you'd give your younger self?
Sure. I was actually thinking about this, something like tangible. Get a pair of headphones, spend anywhere between $150 to $300. Make sure they're just like professional semi-open back headphones, and just get one pair. And I would recommend like going to like a place like B&H or like Sam Ash or Guitar Center and like try out a bunch of them, and just get a pair that you like and stick with them for life. And bring it. So like these Audio-Technica headphones, I've had these for 6-7 years at this point. I don't let anybody put my headphones on ever because I think that's kind of gross. But these are my headphones. I take them with me everywhere. I use them in every single session. And it's just a consistent reference point that I know when I go from studio to studio, I know what something's supposed to sound like. I think it's really valuable to have a consistent reference point if you move around a lot. And just something that's like more intangible, I guess, just like, it's a grind, man. It's a long, slow grind. If you're committed, like it's going to take time, and you never know. Like my whole career changed off of one phone call. right? Like it like took a complete 180 off of one phone call, and you never know. So you just have to be prepared, and just, stick it out. And, my Instagram is Ben F. Thomas Music. I'm accessible. You hit me up. I usually answer. So yeah, reach out anytime.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Like I said earlier, I always tell people to find a hub, find a creative space. I think anybody who's on this call is already kind of, taking the first step in that. It is a community. I believe in that community is important. Being able to find others who are like-minded as you, or want to achieve the same things, people to collaborate with, that's very important. I also agree with Ben, you got to grind, you know what I'm saying? Don't how do I say it? It sounds very cheesy to stay motivated, grind, but that's just really a part of it, you know what I mean? So, because a lot of it, some things can happen overnight, but oftentimes all the work that leads to it doesn't happen overnight. You know what I mean? So yeah. Awesome. Oh yeah, and you can connect with me on Instagram, Twitter, anywhere at Amil D'mor. That's Amil D'mor. So you could DM me. I'll hit you back. I'm pretty cool with answering any questions that anybody may have about just different things. So
dope. Thanks, Amil and Ben. Also, funny message in the chat. Lottie says, not even gonna hold you. I like mixing in iPhone headphones. Lottie,
no, because
no, that's fine. That's how people don't listen.
Every time I mix in my mixing headphones, it sounds better in Pro Tools than it sounds when I play it on my phone. That's why I started mixing.
Well, how are you playing it on your phone? You playing it in the music player on your phone, like in iTunes or something?
Yeah, I play it. Yeah, I just have.
So if you're playing it in the music player on your phone or your computer, those players are coloring the sound, right? So it's best to play it through the Notes app or through Dropbox or something not Dropbox, but the Notes app or software I use is called FilePass. I'll type it in the chat.
I'm taking notes.
It's a kind of like SoundCloud, but it's you can upload your music. It's how I send mixes to my clients. And you can upload your music and it streams it back in full lossless quality, which Dropbox does not. So if you are listening back to it on your phone, it's going to sound different. So try not to use the player on your phone or on your computer. Just play it straight out of Finder.
I'm gonna check out FilePass myself. So
it's great. Yeah, it's awesome.
Thank you for the tip. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you all heard it here. Filepass.com. It's in the chat. Cool. All right. Happy Saturday, everybody. Ben, Amil, we're eternally grateful for you. If you ever need anything from the Finesse fam, we got you.
I definitely want to say myself, thank you, Alexi. You know what I'm saying? I love what you guys do. Christy, Bear, you guys killed it putting this together. Thank you, Ben, for being on here. It was awesome to chop it. Yeah, it was awesome to chop it up with you, Ben, and everybody else too. Ben, I love your work. You're doing great things out here.
Likewise, man. Hit me up, man. I'm in New York. Let's link.
Word. Hell yeah, bro. Ben, I'm very proud of you. You're going crazy. You know what I'm saying? We spoke about this. So yeah, hope everybody has a blessed day and whatnot. And
thanks, Stanley.
Yeah.
We appreciate you. And Bea, Christy, thank you for hosting. Cool. That's all we've got for you today. Also, one shout out to a longtime member of our community, Mom on the Beats. Happy birthday. Everybody say happy birthday to Mom on the Beats again.
Happy birthday. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Happy Saturday, everybody. We love you. See you all next week for our artist management panel. Bye, Ben. Bye, Jenny. Thank you.
Be safe, y'all.
Bye.